So we're going to start with question number 23. This is on the calculator section, so you are allowed to use a calculator for these questions.
Have shared the link in the chat as well.
Okay, so for question 23, it gives us a table, and it asks us that if we add a new book that has 62 pages, how will the mean and median change? Well, the mean is the average, so mean is the average, and the median is the middle number. And so since 62 pages is larger than the entire data set, because the largest number in the data set right now is 53, since 62 is higher than that, it means that the average will always increase no matter what. And as for the median, well, we just need to count the frequencies. And so once we add up all the frequencies, we can see that even if we were to add another frequency to like after 53, for in this case it would be for 62, the middle number would still not change. It would still be the same. And so the correct answer here would be C. The mean will increase, but the median will stay the same. Okay, question 24. All right, so someone asked, can you explain medium? Okay, let me explain medium really quickly. Um, okay, let me just explain median really quickly. So in this data set, we have like 46 with a frequency of 1, 47 with a frequency of 2, 48 with a frequency of 4, etc., etc. I'm just going to write them all down. 49, 5, 50, 5, 51, 2, 52, 5, 53, 4. And so basically, frequency means the number of times it's going to appear in the data set. So if we were to actually write this out as like a list, we would have like 46, comma, and then 47 would appear twice. So we would have 47, comma, 47, comma, and then we would have 48 four times. So we would have 48, 48, 48, 48, and then so on for the rest of these data in the list. So to find the median, we just have to do subtract the top and the bottom. So we have 1. So we subtract 1 from this 4, we get 3. We subtract these 2 from these 3, we get 1. We subtract this 1 from this 4, and we get 3. We subtract these 3 from this 5, and we get 2. We subtract these 2 from this 5, which means we have 3. We subtract this 2 from this 3, which gets us 1. And then we subtract this 1 from this 5, which gets us 4. So that means the median number is 50. That's how we would find the median number. And you can do the same thing when you add another book with 62 pages. So the median number here would be 50. Okay, question 24. Okay, so question 24, it says a recipe requires F cups of flour. And if he used 50% more flour, how much flour did he use? Well, 1 times F is still just F. And so for this, if we used 50% more, it would just be 1.5 times F, because 50% is equal to 0.5. And so you just do 0.5 plus 1, which gets you 1.5 times F, which is answer choice D. Okay, question 25. Okay, so for this one, we're given a table and triangle, rectangle, blue, red, 7, 8, 5, 6. And we're asked if a triangle is selected at random. Okay, so if a triangle is selected at random, it means that they had to have selected triangle. So for a fraction, the bottom number must be the total of these two numbers. So we have 7 plus 5, which is equal to 12. So this bottom number must be 12. And then it asks us, what is the probability that the selected triangle is red? So we look at red, we said that it's 5. So the top number would be 5. And the correct answer is 5 out of 12, which is answer choice B. Okay. Someone asked, when we add all of them up though? They said that if a triangle is selected at random, that means that we're given that a triangle has to have been selected. It's not if it said if a shape is selected at random, then we would have to add all of them up. But because they said if a triangle is selected at random, it means that we're given that they had to have picked a triangle. That's basically the difference. Okay, question 26. Okay, so for this one, we're given that um it took them 30 minutes to complete the task with no experience. So this is the formula for an exponential function. You have the base, and then you have 1 plus or minus the rate. So usually it's 1 plus the rate, but it actually sometimes depends. And then we also have the time. So in this case, the base is 30 minutes, because it says they took them 30 minutes to complete the task. And then you have the initial 1. Because if time is equal to 0, then that means you just have this part would just equal 1, so it'd just be 30 minutes. Anyway, so 30 and then 1 plus the rate. Well, in this case, it says um it decreased by 5%. So decreased by 5% means it would be minus 0.05, because that's 5%. So 5% equals 0.05. And then times the time, or in this case, they call it time x, and that is our function. So that would just be 30 times 0.95 times to the power of the x, which is answer choice C. Okay, question 27. Okay, so for this question, it asks us what is the value of b, and so for this, it's just the equation for a parabola, which is where x minus a value and x minus another value is equal to 0. So one of these two has to be equal to 0, so we can just set them equal to 0. So x minus 1 equals 0. So that means x is equal to 1, which we can see on the graph is there. And so for the other one, the other point of intersection on the graph is at -3. So we have -3 plus b is equal to 0. Add 3 to both sides. B is equal to 3. And so the correct answer is A. Okay, question 28. Okay, so for this one, we know that 315 is total price. We know that C is in pounds, and we know that P is tons. And so the equation 0.5C plus 6dp equals 315. What is the integration of the 6dp? And so we know that 315 is the total money. And so that is set equal to, well, for that to be set equal to something, it means that since these are pounds and tons, if they don't add up, you have to actually convert them into prices. That means the numbers in front of them are prices. So in this case, 0.5C basically means for every pound of aluminum cans, you get 0.5. I guess that means 50 cents. And then plus 60p. This basically means for every ton of paper, you get $60. So this means that the correct answer is D. The total amount in dollars the club has paid for P tons of paper recycled. For 60p, P is the number of tons, and 60 is the price per ton. So once you multiply them, it's the total amount you get paid for paper. Okay, question 29. Okay, so for this one, we have x minus 3 squared equals 81. What is the sum of the solutions? So for this, we just have to multiply it out. So we would have x minus 3 times x minus 3, which is just x squared, negative 3x, 9. So that's just x squared minus 6x plus 9 equals 81. If we subtract 81 from both sides, we would get x squared minus 6x minus 72. Once we separate this out into the standard form, we have x minus 12 and x plus 6, because negative 12 times 6 is negative 72, and negative 12 plus 6 is just 6. And so the values of x that are solutions would be x equals 12 and x equals negative 6. So once we sum them up, we'd have 12 minus 6, which equals 6. So the correct answer here is answer choice B. Okay, question 30. Someone asked for the last problem, couldn't you do x minus 3 equals 3 plus 3 equals 6? The reason why you can't just set x equal to 3 is because 3 minus 3 is equal to 0, and 0 squared does not equal 81. That's why. Those are two completely different graphs. Okay, so for this one, we have 3 different graphs. I'm not gonna be able to do this one on the board probably, but we have 3 different data sets. We have data set A, B, and C. And so the differences between a data set A, B, and C is that data set C has an extra point at 10, and data set A has an extra point at 2 and at 10. And data set B is the same as the other data sets, except the other data sets have some slight differences. And so the medians of A, B, and C, it asks us what is the difference between the medians of the 3. And so for this one, data set A and B should have the same median because this 10 will cancel out this 2. So that means that data set A and B have to have the exact same median. And so that means that A equals B, And so looking at the answer choices, the only one that would fit that is answer choice D. We don't need to check C because the answer choices they wouldn't match. But the 10 and the 2 would cancel out. And then the rest of the graphs, the rest of the graph from A and B are the exact same. So we would have the same exact median. Okay. Question 31. Okay, so for this one, we're told that there's two squares. Um, it tells us that the area of square EFGH, so EFGH is a square. It tells us that the area is 9. And so to find the side length, we would just have to find square root 9, which is 3. So the side length of square EFGH is 3. So that means since it says the side length of ABCD is twice this, it means that the side length of ABCD would be 3 times 2 or 6. And then to find the area, we just have to do 6 squared, which is 36. So the answer is 36. Okay, question 32. Okay, so for question 32, it says, for how many of the data points this is line of best fit, predict a y value that is less than the actual y value, which basically translates to how many of these dots are above the line, which if we count, we have this 1 here, 2 here, 3 here, 4 here, and 5 here. So the correct answer here is 5. Okay, question 33. Okay, so for this question, it says that c is a constant and the equation 1 over 4x equals cx plus 2 has no solution. What is the value of c? Well, for an equation to have no solution, these two can never equal each other. And so the correct answer here would just be that the slopes would have to be the same. Because if you have 1/4 of x equals 1/4 of x plus 2, well, 0 cannot equal 2. So that means that there would be no solution. And so the correct answer here would be 1/4 or 0.25. And on the SAT, you can choose to either write a fraction or a decimal. Typically, fractions will be easier, but some people prefer decimals. But question 34. And you can use calculator on this part. Okay, so someone asked me to explain the last one. So this one. So it says the equation has no solution. So that means that no matter what value, there is no value of x where this equation will be true. So if these two slopes are different, that means that at some x value, these two will equal each other. But if they're the same slope, let's say, then whatever value you plug in for x, these two can never equal. So for example, let's plug in 0 for x. If we have 1/4 times 0 equals 0 plus 2, 2 cannot equal 0 cannot equal 2. This doesn't make sense. And we can plug in any x value. So if we plug in like 10, we would have 10 over 4 equals 10 over 4 plus 2, which wouldn't equal each other. So no matter what value of x we would plug in, these two would never equal each other. So it's telling us what is the value of C for that to happen, for there to be no solution, which means that no solution just means whatever you plug in for X, these two sides will never equal each other. It's basically what it says. And so the only value for C would for it to have the same exact slope, which would be 1/4. Anyway, back to question 34. Okay, so for this one, it asked us what number is 1% greater than 7,000. So we just have to find out what is 1% of 7,000, and then we have to add it to 7,000. So it'd just be 7,000 times 1.01, which is equal to 7,070. And that is the correct answer. 7,070. Okay, question 35. Okay, so question 35. It says the volume in component B. If the volume of component B in the liquid mixture is 1 millimeter, and so we know that B 1 millimeter is equal to 25%. What is the total volume of the liquid mixture? Well, if 1 mm is 25%, then what is 100%? Well, that would just be 4 or 4 milliliters. That should be ml, not mm. But the correct answer is 4. Okay, question 36. Okay, so for this one, it tells us that they applied it to a new sample of 9 milliliters. And so we've just, it says the extracted volume component C was only 90%, was the extracted volume component C. So we just do 9 ml times what C should be, which is 20%, which is just 0.2. So 9 times 0.2, which gets us 1.8. And we have to do 1.8 times 90%, so times 0.9, which is 1.62. And that is our correct answer, 1.62. Okay, question 37. Okay, so for this question, we're given two functions and we're asked, okay, we're given x squared plus bx, and we're told that this function times the other function g of x, which is 3x squared minus 9x, is equal to 3x to the fourth minus 8x to the third minus 3x squared. And so we just have to figure out what is the value of b. Well, so this would give us 3x to the fourth. We would have 3bx to the third negative 9x squared negative 9 bx squared. And so I'm not going to worry about the x to the third terms because we have this other x squared term, which there's only one of, so that makes it really easy. And so negative 9 times b has to be equal to this term here, which would be negative 3. Because this term, negative 9bx squared, has to equal negative 3x squared, and then the x squareds would cancel out. So negative 9 times b equals negative 3. And so you just divide both sides by negative 9, which you get us that b is equal to 1/3. That is the correct answer. B is equal to 1/3. Okay, question 38. Okay, so for this one, we're given that there's a mirror with a width of 3 feet and a length of 5 feet, and the area of the entire thing with the border is 35 square feet. And so first we just have to find the area of the mirror, which is 15. And we know that the area with the border is 35. So we have 35 minus 15 is equal to 20. So we know that the area of the border is 20. Now we just need to find out how many subsections there are in the border. And so we know that this is x feet and this is also x feet. So since that's the case, we can actually subdivide it up really easily, like so. Which would basically give us that, well, I didn't subdivide this, right? But basically, once you subdivide it because of the tiles that there are, this cube would be x squared, and so you can keep doing it across the entire thing because all the side lengths are equal to x. And once you do that, you'd get all these tiny cubes, and once you add them up, you'd get a total of 20 of these cubes times the area of an individual one of these cubes is going to be x squared. So 20 equals x squared. And so once you do that, you have the area is 20, and you also have that there's 20 cubes. That means one of these cubes has to have an area of 1. So we know that 1 is equal to x squared. And we just find the square root of 1, which equals 1. So the width of the border is 1. Now, this was probably not the expected way to solve this, but this is the way I ended up solving it. And that's the end of this one. So now we're on to no calculator for the October 2020 SAT. Question 1. There is no calculator on this. So someone asked, wouldn't it be 5? It says, what is the width? X. So that means it's asking for X. It's not asking for the width of the entire border, because in the question it says, what is the width X in feet? That means that the width is X. So this. It's not asking for the entire width of the thing. If it was the entire width of the thing, it would just be 5 times X. So it would just be 5. But it's not asking for that. It's asking just for X. Yeah, so it's just asking for X. What is the width X in feet of the border? So yeah, I don't know why they worded it like that. Generally, when they say width, I would assume the width of the entire thing, but because they worded it like this, it means that they're just asking for the value of X. Okay, back to question 1. Okay, so for this question, all we have to do is set up an equation. So it says the restore charge 60 per day. So we have 60. We're going to set X equal to number of days plus 25 for delivery. And I'm assuming that's a one-time charge. So, which equals a total of $325. We set the final value of X. We subtract 25. We get 60X. That's not a 60. 60X equals 300. We can get rid of one of the zeros. We have 6X equals 30. Divide by 6. We get X is equal to 5. Please answer choice B. Okay, question 2. Okay, so for this one, we're just adding the two equations together. So our first one, we have 2xy squared plus 3xy squared, which gets us 5xy squared plus, and then we have 3x and negative 8x. So 8 minus 3 is negative 5. So this would be minus 5x. And we have negative 4 and positive 4. So negative 4 plus 4 is 0. So our answer is 5xy squared minus 5x, which is in choice A. Okay, question 3. Okay, so for this one, we're given an equation. F of x is equal to 3x. What is f of 2? That means we just have to plug in 2 for x. So 3 squared is equal to 9, which is answer choice D. Okay, question 4. Okay, so for question 4, it asks us, according to the graph, what is the value of f of 0? F of 0 is just where x is equal to 0. So look at x is equal to 0, go down to the graph. We have -8, which is answer choice B. So the correct answer is B. Okay, question 5. Okay, so for this one, we're given a function. It says what value of x is h of x equal to -2. So we just set h of all this function equal to -2. Now we solve for x, subtract it from both sides. -4 equals -4, x minus 1. We have -4 divided by -4, which is 1 equals x minus 1. Add 1 to both sides, and we get 2 is equal to x, which is answer choice D. Okay, question 6. Okay, so for question 6, we're given an equation and we're asked to find what is it in terms of r. So we have that c is equal to 5/9 times r minus 491.67. So we just have to find this with r by itself. So we'll just multiply c by 9 and then divide by 5. So we have 9/5c equals r minus 491. And then we would add 491 to both sides. So 9/5c plus 491 point, what is it, 67 equals r. And that is our correct answer, which is equal to A. That is answer choice A. Okay, question 7. Okay, so for question 7, we have an equation 75x plus 19y equals t. We have 75 as a square miles. We have 19 as square miles, and we have t as total number of residents. So that means x and y have to be the residents per each square mile. And so what does x mean? Well, it has to be related to the island Aruba. So which would be the residents per square mile in that island, which is answer choice D. Population density in residents per square mile of Aruba. Okay, question 8. Okay, so for this question, we just have to figure out what the two multiples are. So we have x plus or minus something, and then x plus or minus something. And so what times what is equal to 35, but when added equals negative 12? That would be 7 and 5. Because 7 times 5 is equal to 35. And then negative 7 minus 5 equals negative 12. So that means both these are negative. Because negative 7 minus 5 equals negative 12. Negative 7 times negative 5 is equal to 35. And so the sums of the solution are x equals 7 and x equals 5. And what is the sum of this? Well, 7 plus 5 is equal to 12, which is answer choice C. Okay, question 9. Okay, so for question 9, it says in the right triangle, ABC, sine x equals 5/8. What is the value of cosine y? Well, sine is just opposite over hypotenuse. So opposite would be 5. Hypotenuse would be 8. And we're asked to find cosine y. So cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse. So for y, adjacent is 5. Hypotenuse is 8. So that'd be 5 over 8. So the correct answer here is answer choice C. Okay, question 10.
After this question, we'll end the session. After the 10th question. Okay, Prusha?
What? What is the correct answer? 4. Okay, so for this one, ABC is similar to triangle DEF, which the following coordinates could be point F. And so for this, we know that ABC equals DEF, and F is some point. And so the best way we can do this is relate the slopes. And so for AC, we go up 1 and right 3. And for D and E, we go down 2 and right 6. So that means that these two have the same slope, but the signs are opposite, which basically means all they did is flip this triangle over the x-axis and increase the size of it. And so that means that we're basically just doubling we're flipping this and doubling the slope. So for this, we go up 1, right 3. This one, we do it twice, and we flip it. So we go right 3, down 1, right 3, down 1. And so to find point F, for this, we would go right 1 and up 4. And then so once we flip it, for this, instead of going right 1, we would go right 2. And instead of going down 4, we would go down 8, which gets us an x value of 4, -10, which is answer choice B.
If we have a question, you can let us know. Otherwise, we'll end the session. You can put it in the chat if you have any question. Otherwise, we'll see you all next week on Sunday. Thank you, everybody, for joining us.